It was early morning. But this was no ordinary dawn. The clock was about to strike 6:47. The sky had just begun to turn a soft blue. Birds sang quietly in the distance. The world looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. But inside the modest two-story house at the edge of the neighborhood, a storm was brewing. Amir sat at the edge of his bed, wide awake. He hadn't slept at all. His eyes, bloodshot and swollen, told a story of countless sleepless nights. In his hands, he clutched an old photograph, a picture of his wife and daughter taken just a year ago. They were smiling in the photo. That kind of smile that only comes when life is still full of hope. But that hope had vanished. His family was gone, not by accident, but by force. He stood up slowly and looked out the window. Across the street stood the massive gates of the HOA compound, a place that pretended to protect the neighborhood but had become a prison for those who spoke out. A corrupt homeowners association, run by Karen Fletcher, a woman whose thirst for control had destroyed lives. Amir had served 2 tours overseas. He'd seen war. He'd seen injustice. But nothing had prepared him for the battle he now faced, in his own homeland. It all began months ago when Amir's daughter, Aisha, had been falsely accused of breaking HOA guidelines. Something about unauthorized sidewalk chalk drawings. She was only 6. Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, had used it as an excuse to humiliate the family. Fines, threats, public shaming, all orchestrated through HOA meetings where Amir wasn't even allowed to speak. One day, after a heated argument at the HOA board, Aisha went missing. The official report said, no foul play, but Amir knew better. His wife, Samina, couldn't bear the pressure. She left one morning and never returned. Since then, Amir had become a shadow of his former self. But not a broken man, a man quietly preparing for something big. On that particular morning, the one where the story truly begins, Amir watched through the blinds as Karen and 2 HOA enforcers walked up to his driveway. They were carrying bolt cutters. Clang. The sound echoed as they cut through the security chain around his garage. Amir didn't move. He watched silently. They opened the garage without permission. Inside was his old military vehicle, armored, and now apparently a violation of aesthetic standards. Karen smirked and snapped a photo, ready to fine him $5,000 for it. But what she didn't know was that she had just triggered something far worse. That night, Amir went into the garage and sat in the vehicle for hours. He reached under the seat and pulled out an old duffel bag. Inside were documents, flash drives, and a thick folder labeled HOA Classified Illegal Activity. Amir had spent the last 6 months gathering evidence. Late-night drone footage, audio recordings, bank transactions, secret meetings between Karen and a real estate developer who wanted to evict the current residents and turn the neighborhood into luxury condos. He wasn't just going to expose her. He was going to destroy her empire, legally, surgically, and publicly. 2 days later, an anonymous email was sent to every homeowner, media outlet, and city official. It contained everything: the kickbacks, the fake citations, the harassment, the embezzlement. All signed off by Karen Fletcher. At first, no one believed it. But as video after video surfaced, and as residents began to speak up, people who had once been silent out of fear, the story exploded. The HOA office was surrounded by angry homeowners. News vans lined the street. Karen tried to escape in her $80,000 Mercedes, but Amir blocked her path with his military Humvee. He stepped out, calm, strong, unshaken. "This is for Aisha," he said quietly. Within 24 hours, federal agents had raided the HOA office. Karen was arrested on charges of fraud, extortion, and conspiracy. Her 2 board enforcers were also taken into custody. One of them broke down and confessed everything, including the cover-up of what happened to Aisha. It turned out, Aisha had been taken and hidden to silence Amir. But she was alive, living with a distant relative, unaware of the chaos around her. When the police located her, She ran into Amir's arms. His knees buckled. For the first time in nearly a year, he cried. Not from pain, but from relief. Karen's trial was the biggest the city had seen in decades. Every major news network covered it. She showed no remorse. Her lawyer argued it was all misunderstood management. But Amir's evidence was airtight. The judge looked directly at Karen and said, "You used power meant to protect to instead persecute. You silenced voices and stole futures. You are hereby sentenced to 8 years in federal prison." Gasps filled the courtroom. Karen's face went pale. Amir didn't smile. He just bowed his head, holding Aisha's hand. Justice, at last. Months passed. The neighborhood changed. The HOA was dissolved. A new residence committee was formed, democratic, transparent, and inclusive. Amir's house no longer felt like a cage. He repainted it himself. Built a new swing for Aisha in the front yard. Every morning, he walked outside, coffee in hand, and nodded to neighbors who once looked away but now looked up to him. The sky looked just like it did that morning at 6:47. But now, it felt different. Peaceful, not because it was silent, but because it was earned. And every time the wind brushed past his face, he heard a whisper. "You did it, Dad."